Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream in the virtual studio, the Keener-eyed amongst you will have noticed my dear friend Karen Bashford, an empowerment mentor. Now, we're not really talking about empowerment, we're talking more about self-empowerment today, the power of forgiveness. I think it's a powerful topic and one that I know that Karen has got very strong views about. Karen, forgiveness. Talk to me about this.
Okay, well, in my book, How to Be Imperfectly Perfect, I have a chapter that reads, forgiveness is so powerful, it frees you from all emotions such as anger, hurt, or judgment you hold on to justify your actions, or so you think.
Yeah, well, that's the point, isn't it? Or so you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, forgiveness isn't about condoning the behavior of somebody else,
right,
for the actions they've taken. It's about forgiving yourself for the reactions you have and for holding on to the emotional trauma that it has caused. That's all forgiveness is, basically. Yes, it's wonderful to be able to say, yes, I forgive you. But it's not, as I say, about condoning their behavior. It's about letting it go. It does not matter. It's your reactions that matter. And in forgiving them and yourself, the subject drops. You don't need to carry it around with you anymore.
interesting.
That's what I discovered.
You discovered it through your own eyes. I remember we had a discussion about this a long time ago, you and I, and it suddenly occurred to me that the only way I could forgive someone was I had to come to terms with the fact that it had happened, whether I liked it or not. It had happened, and and time, which we all know waits for no man or woman, had already marched on. So, what was the point in holding on to this pain and beating myself about it when nothing I could do could reverse that?
And at the end of the day, the only person you're hurting is yourself. They've probably forgotten all about it. They don't care.
So true.
Why would they be focusing on you when they're getting on with their lives just because you think that they've hurt you?
Right. They probably don't even realize how you're feeling. So it's actually, to quote my wife, actually, she said it's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. No, this pain of and hurt that you're holding inside yourself, this grudge that you've got in there, it's not affecting them in any way. The only person it's affecting is you.
Yeah. And if you actually explain to somebody who you believe has hurt you, they'll probably stand there and look at you and think, what the hell are you going on about? Yes. I just said something. We have to remember, we choose how we respond to what's said to us. So we're choosing to be hurt. We're choosing to take it as a physical and emotional attack on ourselves, when actually half the time it's not. They're just speaking what is to them their truth and what we perceive as wrong. Yes, physical abuse is unforgivable. There's no need to be physically abusive. But often the emotional abuse that comes up is just their perception of what they believe you are doing wrong.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Because perception, it's almost like you've got two mirrors. One mirror shows a corrupted, broken down version. The other one just sees you. And if you choose, you can choose which mirror to look in, can't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, you do not have to take on the words that somebody says to you. And that's your freedom of choice. And we all have that freedom.
Right. So forgiveness is twofold, though, isn't it? One is forgiving them. Another one is forgiving yourself.
The most powerful one is forgiving yourself. It allows you to recognize that you are worthy of being the person you are without being influenced by somebody else's behavior.
It's so hard though sometimes, because this is going to sound very weird, so bear with. When you've had this unresolved angst inside you about someone, not quite a grudge, you don't necessarily want to do them harm, but you part of you is, you did this to me, and how could you, etc., etc., and it's in your breast for a long period of time. It can almost get to feeling like that's its home, and it's almost scary relinquishing that, because what, there'll be a void left afterwards. What am I going to fill that with? Yeah, it can feel almost comforting to hang on to that old pain.
I know, I've done it for centuries, basically. But the thing about letting go of whatever it is you're angry about, I'll give you a prime example.
Okay.
My partner, I discovered, had been unfaithful with me. And that is something I will never tolerate. You're either committed to a relationship or you get out of the relationship, as far as I'm concerned. And in discovering that he'd been unfaithful, on top of everything else he'd been doing to me, that was the final straw, as far as I was concerned. So I got him out the house finally. The thing about it is, I was so angry, I was actually making myself ill. And it's not realizing that my anger was the problem until one evening I was sitting there laying in bed thinking, oh, for God's sake, just go to sleep, forget him. It's not working, just forget him. And it was like this moment of realization that I had to let him go. Holding on to anger was going to do me far more damage. I was losing sleep. I was very conscious of the fact that every now and then he'd just appear in my head, and I would get myself really wound up by it. And it was like, this isn't serving me. It's distracting me rather than serving me. So I finally decided that I would forgive him, because I was seeking revenge. Seriously seeking revenge.
Well, no, revenge is destructive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas once you've forgiven,
yeah,
there's no need for revenge, is there?
No. And it was the awareness that I'd reached that point where I was looking for revenge. He'd made me so angry at him that all the harm he'd caused me, and then the insult of having an affair, based on the fact he was supposed to love me.
Yes.
It was like, no, I'm not accepting this. I wanted revenge. And I'd be laying there of a night time thinking of all the ways I could get revenge.
I know, but you see, I laugh. No, but I laugh because I've done the same thing. And then I look back on it and thinking, all the time you spent there twisting and turning those ideas around when you're supposed to be sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah, you waste so much time and energy on somebody who doesn't deserve your time and energy. It was like, oh, I just want to sleep. Please, can I just sleep? And one night I just decided, you know what? Let's just let this go. Let's just forgive everything. Let's forgive myself for wanting this revenge, because revenge is far more harmful than even an anger.
And then how did that feel when you must have done a bit of self-persuasion that this was the right thing to do? Because,
well, one of the methods at the time I knew about was called the Sedona method. It's slightly different now to what it was when I first learned about it. And all it is just asking yourself the question, when you're thinking of what you want to do, like for me, revenge, it would be asking questions like, is this serving me?
Right.
No. Right. Am I ready to let this go? Yes. When? Now. That's all you have to say. You just have to ask yourself those questions.
But in the past, I remember when I was in this position, I could rationalize, and I could use my my own intellect. That's the word I was looking for, to rationalize and reason. But I still, the emotional side of me said, no, you're going to hang on to this. So how did he get over that? How did he get over that?
That's why the Sedona method works, because you're actually asking, is this serving me? Why is it serving me by hanging on to anger?
Well, it's not.
No. So if you ask a logical question, is this serving me? Your mind's automatically going to go no, and your body's going to think, is this serving me? Is this helping me? Because all you're wanting to do as a human being is to be the best you can be. So if you're holding on to something that's not doing you any good, it's not serving you, you don't want it. Your body, mind, and soul will acknowledge this is not helping me in my life. It's not helping me the best I can be.
Right.
So you're actually aligning your thoughts with your body by asking the question, is this serving me?
Well, it patently wasn't. And it was making me feel, well, nauseous in some part and just full of rage, and I lost my appetite. I went to the sinister. I know, to all of you watching, your mouths would drop open. Yes, once I was thin. I went I went to the thinnest I've ever been, and I just was not interested in food, and it was like there was this pestle and mortar inside me. I just kept grinding it up and grinding it up and grinding. Yeah. So, but it took a while for me. You just made a decision using the Sedona method.
Yeah.
And this allowed you to, did you get that night's sleep?
Yes, I did. And after that, I slept brilliantly.
Okay.
It was like there was this something inside of me that kept thinking, well, my mind's saying no. My body's thinking, well, actually, this doesn't feel comfortable anymore.
Right.
By asking the questions, it makes you consciously think of it, but unconsciously your body is responding to the question as well.
Yeah.
That is why it's so important to recognize there is this mind-body connection. Your body has far more control over you than you realize. And your gut is your second mind.
Do you know what? I can believe this. I can believe this. I know the gut is the second mind. I know this because since I've been taking some probiotics, I just don't seem to wake up feeling panicked. I used to wake up in the morning, turn around to Heather and say, I've got this dreadful sense of foreboding and I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like it's all going to go wrong and we're going to end up sleeping in a ditch somewhere. And she used to say, go and have some breakfast, you'll feel better. But no, since I started taking the probiotics, I just don't have that anymore at all.
You've got good, we all have good and bad bacteria in our stomachs. And unfortunately, certain foods we eat, antibiotics, tablets we take and such like will kill the good bacteria. We do not eat enough food that would contain the necessary good bacteria to replace the bad.
That's consequently, modern intake is terrible when you think about it.
Yeah. And if you're overloaded with bad bacteria, your body can't function properly because you're not breaking down the nutrition you're eating to absorb it.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So if you were going to summarize today's topic of forgiveness, what would you say to anybody listening today?
Choosing to forgive is powerful for you. It's the act of loving yourself. Why would you not love yourself?
It's such a hard thing to do sometimes. I just remember, I'm not even thinking about business deals where I've been done over. I just like friendships where a person I'd considered a friend for a long period of time had then turned around and done something so just despicable or something that you know that you wouldn't do to a friend. And sometimes it's hard to let that go, isn't it?
But you have to remember they are perceiving the world differently to you.
It's true.
So to what to you is despicable is just acceptable to them.
I think I can, if I can just finish with a quote from Oscar Wilde, which is, the worst thing one can do in life is judge people by your own standards.
Yes.
And I think you pretty much nailed it there. Guys, I just, before we go, I have two things to talk about. Today was all about the power of forgiveness, but I want to draw your attention to, if you want to start your wellness journey, you should be talking to someone like Karen, if not Karen, because she will allow you to see things from a different angle and stop you playing the same old stories in your head that you've already played. I think sometimes that's part of the problem. And I want to also draw your attention to this, which is something I'm very proud to be part of, if only at the back end editing, but it's an amazing podcast. Karen has intersperses her own thoughts, our own feelings, with excellent interviews with various people. What's this coming week's one called?
Health and loving self. Basically, it's looking at how you can love yourself, or, as I share, nurture yourself, because for some, love is a word that does not come into the vocabulary. It's too painful.
Well, yes, so love is the biggest bulldozing emotion of them all, isn't it? Really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And but even just going to like yourself is a bloody good.
We're in the month of love. February the 14th.
Yes, indeed.
So why not love yourself? You're more important than any other love in your life. You are the number one in your life. Nobody else is going to look after you if you don't look after yourself.
Yes, it's terrible. We are born alone. We die alone. You've got to think about self-love, keeping yourself going by recognizing all your great qualities, and all of you out there. I don't care who you are. There are great qualities you've got. And please do check out the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast. No, you don't need to be a woman to listen to them. They got applicable points in them. In fact, dare I say it, you did a rather excellent one last week, wasn't it?
Well, this week just gone, yeah.
This week just gone.
This week we're in, yeah.
Which was really, and men would find it absolutely riveting. It's you're interviewing, I've forgotten his name now.
Daniel Glide, and it's about, he's an empowerment coach for men. I'm an empowerment coach for women, but we were talking about abuse from the man's perspective and the woman's perspective, expectations, social bias and such like that, because they interlock whether we like them or not. We have to have men in our lives just as men have to have women in their lives.
Absolutely.
So we have to work together. We have to live together. So let's find a way of doing that and acknowledge that we place so many expectations on each other that it's unrealistic.
There you go. That's just a taster of it. Please go ahead and listen to it. It's available on Podbean. If you go to karenbashford.podbean.com, you're presented with a player and all the episodes so far. There have been some blistering ones there. I recommend you go and have a look. The one on money is particularly good. Although they're all pretty good, I have to say. Being the editor, I get to listen to them all, so I can tell you from having listened through them, they're very good. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us, Karen, as ever, beacon in the light, certainly for me. And I look forward to next week's one. Watch out, the next podcast, the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast, is dropping 12 o'clock Monday. But until then, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. Try and keep your feet on the ground, reach for the stars, but look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.